it's just starting.
Ooh, Isaac, press button number next to the mute button. Nope, with your finger.
All right.
Okay, wait, there, that button.
We have a stream.
No.
This?
No.
I don't know. This, that.
Your shit clumsy.
Oh, I thought it was on the screen. Okay,
No.
I'm sorry, no. Okay, I'm just gonna leave. This?
There.
Please, guys.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay, so
Yes.
we're live.
We're live.
Oh. It's like a.
I can see it.
We've been 30 seconds online.
Nice.
There you go. So we're officially starting.
Hey there.
Welcome.
Hi.
If you guys are tuning in for the first time, it's because it is the first time. We're here at the CSS podcast. It's Computer Science with Sergio. We're featuring
Christian Martinez. I'm a junior in the College of Caregiving.
Okay. Hi, I'm Matt at W1.
Hey there, I'm Isaac.
and I'm Sergio. So if you're tuning in, it's because you like computer science and you want to hear more about it and you want to learn. So that's what we're here for. We are ranging from senior, junior, and beginner status. So you'll hear a little bit of everything. If you don't know anything about computer science, you're good. If you know a lot about it and you just want to hear other people's opinions, you come to the right place. For the first video, we're going to go ahead and show you guys how to get set up. And we'll do that in a moment. But for now, why don't we just talk a little bit about our experiences? You know, Chris, what experience level do you say you have on computer science?
I'm still learning a lot, so I suppose I'm below average because I've seen people who are like more experienced than me, so I would call them average. But I still have a lot to learn. A lot.
All right, and what about you, Amanda?
I mean, everyone always has more room for improvement.
Yeah. Okay, so one very important thing about this podcast is it's real laid back. It's going to be more of a conversation between us, and you guys are free to kick in. I see here that Samantha Torres already said hi. So hi, Samantha. How are you doing?
Hey, Sam.
We're gonna go ahead and I guess start. Let's get ready for the first topic here. Let me pull that up. Why don't you guys say like let's do that thing so we're like on the same ground with everybody. The thing that they make us do at the first day of class.
No.
You already said your name,
Nice
but
meeting
now everybody has to like say like a fun fact about themselves.
Fun fact.
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. What is it?
Can we joke about that?
I don't know, man. It's
Is it a
your
fun fact?
repercussions on Facebook and
No.
YouTube, huh?
A fun fact, right?
Yeah. So Isaac, since you're pretty new to this, you might want to follow along with what we're doing. You already have Visual Studio set up there, so you might just wait up for us to
Starting
catch
your
up.
project? Okay, cool.
Yeah. But right now, yeah, fun facts. Go, Chris. You go start.
Fun fact. Well, I work at continuing education where I'm a technology intern / graphic designer / so many other things, but I have experience in computers and Adobe, I suppose. Some more fun facts, I guess, like more personal fun facts. I like to fish a lot. Fishing is badass.
Okay, so we're in a computer environment. So when you say fishing,
I mean,
catfishing?
yeah, I'm doing. And I
No,
get paid
let's
for
not
doing it.
promote that.
Oh, yeah, actually, no, guys, don't be like.
all right, there you go. So let's go ahead and talk about where we are. So right now, as you can see, we're in a pretty domestic environment. We're here at an apartment, but eventually we would like to get this stream live up and running from local bars or local restaurants. So eventually we want to go ahead and see in places like where we can just go ahead and gather around, maybe have a few beers. As you can see, we have some laid up on because we're going to
You need a can opener.
we need a bottle opener.
Yeah,
for beer.
bottle.
We're gonna be drinking a little bit
bottle.
because just relax.
So can I get it?
But yeah, so eventually we're hoping we can location swap. So you'll see us around a couple different locations, and we'll always let you guys know. Um, Today, what we're going to be go ahead and streaming is we're going to start from the very introduction. We're going to start with CS1. So, assuming you absolutely have no idea or you just started with CS, we're going to get you started with the very basics and what you need to do. So, Isaac, that's someone like Isaac who's just starting with CS1. This will be very helpful for. But before we go, I think Amanda and Isaac still need to do a fun fact.
Yep.
Fun fact: I have a dog that controls my life, and I like video games.
All right, what's the dog's name?
Chiquita.
Aww.
What kind of a dog?
Oh, she's not beagle, but that's it.
Not beagle, have basset. What more? Is it like a is it like a petit?
No.
Oh, more beagle.
Okay. Well, Isaac.
And me, well, fun fact about me. So I do stand-up comedy. Have accrued pretty good amount of sets and videos. I've gone to enough comedy clubs, and I'm pretty known around the comedy scene here in Laredo, in here in Edinburgh, in Valley, and Laredo. So yeah, that's a fun fact about me.
All right. So I guess that now it's my turn right now. I have to do the fun fact. Well, I'm Sergio, and I guess the funnest fact that there is to know about me is I actually got first place at a hackathon for developing an Android app. So that's a fun fact, I would say. It's fun for me.
Give credit to your whole team.
Yeah, it was me and my dad, who's behind the camera. We worked together. We developed the app. We worked on iOS and Android. I did Android, and he developed the iOS part. He also did a lot of the visuals and the graphic design. He had a lot of experience in that, so that was really good. Oh, we just got one question. It says, "What's a hackathon?" So luckily, we have the president of our hackathon student organization. So let's go ahead and have her explain what a hackathon is.
Well, anything for our lovely Sammy Torres. So, Sammy, what a hackathon is, it's a 24-hour event, typically, where based on whatever university or student organization group hosts it, there's a topic, whatever they want, whether it be environmental awareness or whatever's going on in the real world, and you build and create something new, whether it's something you have an idea and you build off of it, whether it's people that you meet there and you work off of their ideas, or just something that you just wanted to learn from something you just read off the internet and you didn't know where to start. And a hackathon's a really good place to go. It's also a place to go to where you get a lot of interactions with different companies, where you can start building your resume, start asking them what they're looking for. So a great opportunity for internships, full-time positions, and even part-time positions.
That's great. That's a good. So if you're interested in attending a hackathon, just know that everything is free. They feed you. Sometimes they even take you to the location. The particular hackathon that I won was in Houston. So they provided a bus. They picked us up and took us to Houston and brought us back. They fed us. They kept us awake with Red Bull, and we made it back home safely. So it's a great experience if you just want to catch up. I didn't know anything about Android programming on the first hackathon I went to. I learned how to Android program at the first hackathon, and then I won the second time I tried. So it's a good experience because you're isolated and you're learning. So also, and if you don't want to compete, it's a great way to just focus on your homework and get stuff done because you have nothing to do except program or code or do homework, and then they're feeding you free food. So I know it's a lot of what people do. Anyone can go. I think that no. It's mainly for college students and high school students sometimes. But if you're already graduated, I think they also let graduates go. Am I correct, Amanda?
I'm sorry. What was your question?
That the question was from Sammy. She says, are they just for college students or can anyone go?
Majority of the time it is college students. Some hackathons they do allow high schoolers, usually around the juniors and senior levels.
But it's where it happens.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and start the CS portion of it. So if you're new to CS, we're gonna go ahead and get you started on how to set up your environment. No, you do not have to prove. By the way, you do not have to prove that you're in a hackathon, that you can code to be in a hackathon. You can go there merely just to learn. If you guys want to also help me out with the questions, I don't know much.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I went to my first hackathon purely for moral support. I was there and I really just ate the food and watched everybody code. But you know what? That's a really good place to start because it can that in itself breeds your interest in CS, and it can actually make you want to actually learn about it. I actually learn a lot from watching people watching people code.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get your setup straight up. So I know you've been doing a lot of homework using Zybooks.
Zybooks, yeah.
Zybooks, right? So that they just give you a little text box and you just start writing on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So for a lot of homework assignments, you're gonna have to use Visual Studio if you're a CS major. So that's what's very important that you know how to use your they call it an IDE. I believe it stands for Integrated Development Environment, but I'm not sure. But the most popular one out there is Visual Studio, and they have it free for the community, which means that anybody can get it up. And so let's go ahead and switch over so you guys can see what we're doing over here on our end.
I really apologize for this unprofessional.
This interruption. Alright, so the first thing you guys are going to want to go ahead and do is just, what most people do, just go ahead and open up Google. Let's get rid of all these other tabs. There you go.
Trash them.
Now, mostly you can just go ahead and, if you guys can keep track on the chat, because I have no view on it.
Yeah, I'll keep up with it.
Okay. Just Visual Studio. And here you can go ahead and see this is the Visual Studio website. Now, there are a couple different ones. What we want is the Visual Studio IDE, and what you're going to want is the community. This is the free one that you'll be able to use. So once you click on that, it should automatically start your download.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, professional.
Vibrate every day.
Yeah, it's
Vibrate.
Right. But it's her mom.
Mom called you.
Actually,
Thank you.
There you go.
a pleasure. You can meet me with some nice, chill, ambient
Oh yeah,
sounds.
let's get some music up in here so it doesn't sound so dead.
Oh,
But that's how we feel inside.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Side effect of being a CS major. Not to put anyone off the major, right? Just
Chemistry is also a great major, just saying, you know, in case this doesn't really work out, you know.
It's not chemistry science with schedule, okay? It's computer science with schedule.
They both have science in them.
alright, so we go ahead and open up the installer. Say yes. Continue.
I can put it where I want, right?
Yeah, just keep it chill
Yes, that's what's special.
We're not making any profit.
from this music.
It's not
We do not claim to own any of this music.
I can put uncopyrighted music. Copyrighted lo-fi. Yeah. I can connect.
And there you go. Okay, so right here we already have it installed. So what you're gonna see here is just the install process. It's really self-guided. You can just go ahead and install it. Make sure you install. The whole thing's gonna be around. I think last time we ran it was 12 gigs on its own, just for the studio. But once you install it, you'll be pretty much ready to go. So what you're gonna end up seeing once it's fully installed is this. Okay. So this is gonna be your environment. So Isaac, I think this is where you were at.
Yeah.
So from here, you should be able to be fine. So most of the homework assignments, you're going to want to make an empty project, which sometimes just shows up here as a template. But let's go ahead and create one from scratch, assuming you don't have one here. So you just want to go ahead and navigate to File, New, Project. I'll wait for that. Okay, cool. So you're going to go here to where it says Visual C++. That's going to be the programming language we're going to be using. Because here at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, we use C++ in the majority of our computer science classes. Although there are one or two professors that are just indignant on using Visual like C, and that's the same thing but harder. It's an older programming language with less. It doesn't let you do as much things. But either way, just go ahead and click here on Visual Studio and then start your empty project. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is, once you click it, we can name it. What should we name the project, guys?
I named mine CS with Sergio.
CS with Sergio?
CS W Sergio. W space Sergio.
So is it like CS, the letter CS, or is
Capital
it like
CS?
C
No.
S?
You know what?
How dare you capitalize words?
I call a C out cow one time. I'll crucify it.
Okay.
It was one time.
CS with, or let's just name it CSS. CSS and then episode 1. Let's do that. You want to make sure these both are unclicked. Don't create a directory for the solution, and don't add source control. It's a later topic for a later day. And then just click OK, and it'll start creating your project for you. Any questions so far, Isaac?
Is that the is there any case where I wouldn't want to uncheck those boxes?
Well, there's the source control box. So there's those controls for something like GitHub, and GitHub is so you can work in a team. So you can all share the same program files, and not have to transfer, give each other the project with a USB or through a cloud service.
Cool, nice.
Okay. So now we're actually going to start creating our program. You're going to want a source file, which is a CPP file, and all your source file is usually where your code ends up going. So you're going to go ahead and right click right here where it says source files, and click Add New Item. What we're looking for is a CPP file right here, and we can just go ahead and leave it with the name source. But you can name that name main or whatever you want. That's just the file where your program is going to be at. And now you have your CPP file. So up to right now, you have your environment set up and you have your project ready to go. Do we have any questions from the audience yet? Anybody struggling keeping up, or maybe anything in
Do you
general?
want food?
We would
Do we-
gladly
oh,
accept
yeah.
some.
That's right. Are you guys hungry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Won't say no to food.
Okay, so we should get like a pizza or something.
You want me to order a pizza?
Sure.
Sure. Or do one of you guys want to order the pizza?
Please and thank you, Cam.
Okay.
Any request?
Pizza's good.
Or what, like
Toppings.
Pepperoni.
type of like place?
Domino's.
Domino's?
I love Domino's.
But stuffed crust.
No, Domino's, you said.
Who's they? Oh, the stream.
For some reason, the video is buffering and won't let me see you live stream that is currently live.
Talk to your dad earlier.
Okay.
But it
well,
kind of blurred out.
all right. Let's fix that.
Are we online?
Let's see. It's buffering.
Yeah, we got 4 bars.
We're sorry for technical difficulties.
Yeah, because the first podcast always goes according to plan.
We're still good.
Of course. Okay, came back on.
Okay.
Just gotta let it upload.
Yeah. The YouTube will do the whole.
Rendering.
Yeah. So let's see here. I see it's still buffering.
No, it's going.
It's going?
On yours?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, okay. So-
I can get a broom and hit the roof once I get off the Wi-Fi. The apartment building.
You're clogging up the bandwidth. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop right here and talk a little bit about what we need to set up. So it's gonna look funky when we transition there, but so far we have the project set up, we have Visual Studio set up, and we have everything else running. Amanda, do you want to go ahead and explain how a standard Hello World template would be set up?
I would love to, but I'm currently still installing Visual Studios on this laptop. So, Christian, could you take over for me right now?
Alright. I'm a little rusty on my CS. But here we go. Okay, so you start the file by putting hashtag include a less than symbol. STDFX, right? Symbol? I don't know the exact library.
Okay.
Hashtag
Isn't it
Well-
IOStream?
Hashtag include IOStream.
Yeah. So the main things that you want to set up
Oh, yeah,
is
we start with that one because you know that's the starter.
you want to tell your program what interface you're going to be using. You're going to tell the program what kind of commands you're going to be telling it, and then you want a main function that's going to run all your statements. So, as Chris was saying, first you need to include your what's called IOStream, and that gets all the basic commands up. Then you want to be using a namespace, which is the standard namespace. And that just lets the compiler know what kind of syntax you're going to be using. And then after that, you're going to want to go ahead and create a main function. And that main function, all it means is whenever you click play, everything that's inside of this main function is going to run. So now we can go ahead and show you guys a little bit more on that. Let's switch over. Okay, so like we were saying, we include our IO stream. So it's called IO stream. So that's the input-output stream. So it lets the program be able to take input from the user, take any sort of input, and be able to output to the user as well. So it grabs a list of standard commands that you can use to communicate with the computer. And then we have to let it know how we're going to be providing these commands, and that's using namespace std. That's not a sexually transmitted disease, I promise. It's a standard
I was kind of
namespace.
worried.
I jumped in that conversation like halfway through and I was slightly confused for a sec.
Yeah, no, STD stands for standard. In this context.
You move
You should still get checked.
the video camera on the right side of the screen.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because code's not showing.
Let's.
That's important. Boom.
Boom. Okay. Is that better? Give me 5 seconds.
I'm still
Yeah.
experiencing buffering, as are some of our viewers.
Really?
Really?
Whoa.
I'm not experienced.
No, yeah, no.
30. Okay. Okay. All right. So it's always very important that you keep your code nice and clean. At most, you want to keep a line in between your blocks of code.
A line? Okay, it's kind of like that.
Yeah. What?
Please ignore Chris on this side of the room.
Okay. So, are we good? Everybody can see the code now, instead of our faces, pretty faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can see it. So yeah, I'm
I
sure.
think
Oh
you-
wait, I have to skip ahead to the live broadcast.
Yeah, I think Chris is getting faster string.
So I think some of the buffering might just be because
Just seeing it here.
you guys are
See
viewing
this,
faster
see
than
this.
we're uploading. So I think for Isaac, it fixed it when he like moved back just a couple seconds
Yeah.
and then started watching.
If you're having trouble, you can always just go down to where it says live and skip ahead to the live broadcast.
Okay. So, okay, now, like we were saying, we'll go ahead and do the main function now in our program. We already showed it, what commands we're going to be using, how we're going to be using these, how we're going to be writing the commands, and now we're going to go ahead and start our main function. Now, for our main function, you started off with the return type of the function. We'll explain that in a little bit. It's going to be main.
That's it.
Yes. Okay. And return 0. Okay. So let me go ahead and explain what this is. So essentially, right now, this is a C++ program. You can compile it using Control Shift and the letter B, or you can just build it using build and then build solution. So you can see it's the same thing. Control Shift B. It'll compile it, and just wait for it. There you go.
Can't you
Build
Control
160.
F5?
Huh?
Can't you hit Control F5?
Control F5, I think it runs it without debugging.
Oh, okay.
It automatically runs it. So you have to build it first, and then you run it. So right there, it's building. Boom. And then it runs it. Okay, so a lot of people who are using Visual Studio, I just noticed that it didn't on this computer. What you'll see is when you run the program, it'll actually run it and then immediately close the window. So one thing you can do to stop this is go put in a command called system and then pause, and that'll pause the program right before it closes. So let me go ahead and explain this main function. So this main function has a return type integer. So if you notice inside of the function, there's a return statement that has a 0. When you run this, it's going to return this 0 to the main function if everything inside of this function executed correctly. So if you don't see that 0 there, then that means that there was a problem before it reached the end. So it's also important to note that since it's an integer function, this main function is our integer function, then our return type has to match it. So later on, we're going to be working with more complex functions, and you can have a string function, and you can return a string. We can have a character function, and we'll return a character. You can have all sorts of types of functions that will return that type. But it's important that you don't mix match those types. So you don't want to have like a string function that returns an integer. And if you don't know what integer, string, character, all these terminologies are, we'll go over in a second. We just want to go ahead and get you guys set up. So right now we're using C++, but if you want to use Python, if you want to use Java, a great way to transition between the languages is just to Google the language that you're going to start off with, and then switch off to, it's the language that you want to learn, and then type in hello world next to it, which will essentially show you the most basic type of program that says hello world. So in C++, you can see that we already have a program. It's a bare program that doesn't do anything. So now if we want this program to say something to us, we let it know what we want it to say. So we're going to go ahead and include the string library. So now we can use strings, and strings are words. So when you want to type out a word, that's a string. So if you have the word cat, it's a string of 3 letters. So that's what it's called, a string. So now if we want to create a hello world program in C++, what we do, Isaac, is we create a C out statement.
Okay.
Not a count statement, which is promptly followed with I believe it's called the insertion operator. And we put the message that we want in parentheses. So hello world. go. And we can just stop it there for now, so we don't get into the new line and everything. So if we compile this, in case, there we go. It's gonna be kind of hard to stop using hotkeys, but I'll do it. There you go. So now it compiled successfully. One is up to date. There's no problems. We can actually just go ahead and run this. So we can debug, and we can run without debugging, which is what you were saying earlier. Just Control F5. The Control F5 runs it, and it won't give you any debugging options. It'll just run the program. Or you can start debugging. We'll teach you guys how to debug.
What's debugging?
So debugging actually shows you every variable, any state at any point that you want to run your program. So if you want to stop your program at a certain point and say, stop here, I want to see what all my variables have. It'll show it that to you, which gets very useful when you're working on Schweller's word ladder, or when you're working on anything Schweller gives you.
If I take CS2, after taking CS1, is there a possibility I might get Schweller?
You should take Schweller.
You should take Schweller. I don't know if he teaches CS2 anymore. And in case you guys don't know who Schweller is, he's one of the professors at our university, and he's considered to be a very difficult teacher, but everybody unanimously agrees that if you take him, it'll be a difficult class, but you'll learn a lot. But again, it's a difficult class, so passing is not necessarily always, how do we say, no
Possible?
guarantee.
Guaranteed?
Yeah, there you go. So let's go ahead and run this Hello World program just without debugging. So it ran it and just stopped. Okay, let's try it with debugging. Just ran it through. What is wrong with this? Let's troubleshoot it. Can't find our open PDB file. Huh, okay. Let's try recreating the program. Oh, also, another cool thing that not a lot of people know is assuming you're on your phone on an operating system that doesn't support Visual Studio, you can also use an online compiler for most basic things. Let me go ahead and show that to you. Let's copy this so we don't have to retype. Like most things, we just Google what we need.
Google's the best.
Yes, Google is the best.
It's your best friend in CS.
So there's a C++ shell, and there you go. Okay, so they already have an example program, but we already wrote one ourselves. And we should just be able to run this. It'll compile it, run it, and there you go. We have our Hello World program. But as you can see, this is all browser based. So if you don't want to go through the entire rigorous install that is Visual Studio, you can just start from here. The only downside is you won't have that precious debugger.
But what about, like, what if I make a mistake? What if I forget a semicolon? Will it tell me that I forgot the semicolon?
Yes. Well, it'll let you know that I was expecting a semicolon, but it didn't find one. So you should check your code.
In the instant, like instantly, because even before I like build it, it'll tell me that something's wrong. Like, see how it tells me right here? Will that one do that as well? Can you try it?
Not this one. So as you can see, this one will just it'll let you type whatever, and then when you try to run it, it's gonna tell you there's a problem here.
Yeah.
So it tells you, like you see right here, it says expected a semicolon. You should probably go and check that.
So there are some downsides, right? Like this one, I'll know immediately when that something's wrong. I won't write all my code and then figure out that something's wrong at the very end.
Exactly. So that's why IDEs are very popular. Any programming language that you want to do, you want to go ahead and find a good IDE for it. So for now, I noticed there was a problem with Visual Studio, but this is essentially the most basic program that you're going to get in any language. If you have a Python program, then it's going to be a lot simpler than this. If you have a Java, it might be a little more complex, but still pretty similar. But what the Hello World programs pretty much do is that they give you a pretty good baseline of what you need to type or how you need to, um, uh, I guess, organize your code so that it compiles and runs correctly. From there, you can start using previous knowledge on other programs that you've made to start figuring out how to program in this brand new language. So that's why a lot of computer science one classes start off in C++ because a lot of programming languages model it. So you can program in C just as easily as you can in C++, or in Java just as easily as you can program in C++. You just need to learn like the small kinks of each program, but pretty much the same computer science logic and methodologies are the same on each language.
Um, I notice that right now we're running command prompt programs, right? That's what we're doing.
Yes.
Making those. Can C++ only make command prompt programs? Like if I'm trying to what about the apps I use every day? What would those probably run?
Okay,
Do
so
those include C++?
as far as I know, C++ in the way we're using it only runs command line. It can be adapted for other programs. So, for example, I programmed in Android Studio, and what you can do is you can grab. They added C++ support to it, so now all you do is add your C++ code to the Android Studio, and it'll interpret it for you. So there's a lot of code interpreters that a lot of different platforms use. But the platform that we're working on right now is strictly for console. So you asked what does your apps run on, right? So I see you're on an Android, so that runs on Java, and that's because Java has the versatility to handle UI. So that language was designed specifically to handle user input and also handle display of graphics, GUI, which is a graphic user interface.
And what are command prompt programs? Like, are they used in industry maybe? Command prompt programs?
So
what are they good for?
I've
Just simple stuff like this.
I've developed programs like this. It wasn't in C++, it was in C Sharp, but it was a command prompt program nonetheless. So what it did is it was very simple. So I didn't need to interact with it at all. I just needed to grab a file, format it, and then change it, and just print it out.
Oh, so command prompt programs, they can help like search stuff in your computer and do a lot of internal work with your computer?
Yeah, so you will learn on file systems, so you can actually learn how to grab text files, any sort of file, edit the contents of the file, and then just download it to wherever you want or save it wherever you want. But there's also things like cash register programs.
Like HEBs, I know sometimes they have like a computer and a keyboard, and sometimes they have these little keys, and it tells you like go enter the amount that they want to pay, and then they'll just put in like 2000, but they won't put like a decimal.
Exactly. So if you've seen some really old machines, they won't even have like the touchscreen where you just add an item or add a PLU code. They'll just actually have like a green bar line, and they would actually just type the number, and it'll all be running, and that's essentially what it is. It's a command line.
Is that HEB sometimes they use command prompt programs?
Well, I think now they've upgraded, so they probably use something based on C Sharp.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So C Sharp is .NET, which is also Windows. So they probably run off of Windows environments, so they program on that. So let's see. Does anybody have any questions so far? Based on what we've done, I know it's gonna take like 5 seconds for anyone to like hear me say that. Does anyone have questions?
Samantha is asking, are we going to be learning multiple languages as the podcast progresses?
Eventually, yeah, definitely.
But we're going to start with C++.
Yeah, but what we want to do is aim to help, since we're in session for school, we're in the spring semester, there's a lot of students who are struggling with just picking up the C++ environment. Eventually, we want to go ahead and do all the systems programming, so we can program our phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4. If you guys are students from UTRGV, then you guys know it's for the systems programming class. But a lot of since our main audience is attributed to the UTRGV students, we want to go ahead and stick to what they have in their curriculum. So at first, we're gonna do a lot of the C++ programs and just get that out of the way. But eventually, sure, I know they also have a Java programming class. They have a Python programming class. They have a game dev class that runs strictly on C# and Python. So definitely more programs are an opportunity that we can do. Okay, so we have talked about the hello world. Let's go ahead and start talking about some of the terminology. We have our let's start with the simple data types. So if you want to handle data, which is just numbers, words, anything, you have to put it in a sort of placeholder. Okay, so these placeholders are usually like integers, doubles, strings, characters. Chris, do you want to go ahead and talk about the maybe go ahead and introduce like some of the number data types? Anything that has to do with numbers?
Oh, like ints and floats, doubles.
Yeah, those.
Okay, so for integer, basically, okay, so if you know what technical, there's a thing called signed integers and unsigned integers. So signed integers are basically a number that can be positive or negative, correct?
Yes.
And then there's also unsigned integers, which are basically it's a number that is only strictly a positive. So let's say that I do like some math equation and the result is stored inside an unsigned integer and it's a negative number. It's gonna print out as a positive number. So if the result is always negative or whatever, it's always gonna come out positive. Now there's also floats and doubles, which a float, I believe it shows the first the first
Float?
yeah, it's the first decimal point of the number, and then for double it just shows two more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Decimal and then
they're both data types for decimal values.
And
Wait, so you're saying that floats do one digit after decimal point, and float and double does two. But what if I want like four digits after decimal point? Can any of those handle that? So you're saying float does one digit after the decimal point, double does two digits after the decimal point. But what if I want like 3 or 4 digits after the decimal point? What data type would I use to get enough to show a number with like more than 2 decimal points?
I believe it's set position.
Set position. Oh, so set position in collaboration with double. And let you do that.
Okay, so the
You
double
make it sound like 2 digits after decimal points, like the only thing.
the double and the floats, the decimal numbers, how much they show, sometimes can even be up to the IDE. What's really important to know is that in your computer, this thing, when you specify a double versus a float, it'll say, okay, I have this many bits to represent this number, right? Because your computer, you give it a number like 2000, and it doesn't pick it up like you would think 2000. It picks it up in binary. So in order to write the number 2000 in binary, it would need a certain amount of bits to represent it. So float and double have different types of interpreting those bits. So there's also 2 other data types that are not for decimals. They're for regular numbers, but it's called a short and a long, and those are for very large numbers. So a short is if you need just a small number from like negative negative, I don't know. Sure, let's say it's negative x to negative 1 to positive x, right? But if you need more numbers than that, then instead of using a short, you're going to use a long. And in the long, the downside is I believe you can't use, no, that's not science. You can also use negatives. but a long will allocate more bits to your numbers, so you can have larger numbers in your code. So that's a little bit of a lot to digest if you don't know a lot of the binary and how it works. But just know that short is for small numbers, long is for for large
Big
numbers.
large.
Yeah, but that's you
I
know
know it is.
smaller, longer, or smaller and bigger are very relative terms because you're talking about computers. A small number to us, or a large number to us, is very small for a computer. There's very specific values that you can look up. Um, I'll leave that up to you guys for work to look up the largest values that you guys can use. Um, that's the difference between those type of data types.
Great.
And when is best to use float or no?
So most of the time, you don't you use float when you're trying to save on disk space or just the space in general. But for the majority of your programs, you just stick with double. There's no need to switch over to float. I've never had to switch over to float, and I've been doing this for 4 years. So you should be fine just using double. Um, you might have some assignments that require you to do long, short, float, and double, but I've only had to do that I can remember in like my introductory computer science courses, and that's because they want you to know like the technical difference between them. So if that's the purpose of your assignment, to know the technical differences between float, long, int, and all those, then you're just gonna have to look up the definition and know exactly what the limitations
Always show
are.
some examples of float, integer, double, unsigned, and signed. This is really quick.
Sure. Let's swap over back to Visual Studio View. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new project because I noticed there were some issues with the one we created right now. Any status on the pizza?
That's way
It's on its way?
Seriously?
too kind to.
What?
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Let's try the console comment. Yeah, because that includes the header, and we don't need that.
So the viewers also should know that if they experiment any problems with their studio, they can always recreate the project.
Yeah, so your code is an arbitrary file with text in it. So changing your project is not going to change anything. You can just always copy paste your code onto another project and it'll work just fine. So as you can see, this is a different setup on a different machine. It's a fresh install, so you're always going to have some sort of problems, which is what we're experiencing right now. So we'll go ahead and just work through it. So the main problem was even that it wasn't compiling. Yeah. Oh, of course, I forgot that. There we go. Unexpected data file. Yeah, that's because we used the wrong type of project. Anyway, so let's switch over to that online shell that we had, because that one was working fine. We'll have the Visual Studio up and running by next video anyway. So we're just using basics. So what we're dealing with numbers. You have your int, a, double, b. So int is the data type for integer. A is the name. So this is your data type followed by the variable name, and then we can have it in something like 0, right? So on our double, we can add a decimal point, so we can have 1.23. And our float will be the same thing. 1.234.
Can you zoom into the screen? Or if you get the fonts and yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Long or short. D, what's that? Just say D. No, it's D equals long. Signed and unsigned. Well, you know what? Let's just stick to these for now to keep it basic. So as you can see, these are how you just handle numbers. So if you want to add two different numbers together, you can definitely just put 1 plus 2, and it will do it for you. So if we want to make any sort of output, so we can see this happen, we needed to use the C out, followed by the insertion of an extraction operator. Is it the insertion or extraction? Well, anyway, that operator, and then whatever you want to do. So 2 plus 2, right? And one other thing you can do is end line. So what that's going to do is it's going to display this number and then create a new line. So whatever else you write, it'll be on a separate line. And let's run it.
Is that all?
Not beer.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's okay. Oh, man. So it's compiling.
What? Oh, scared me. I was like, no, don't tell me like unplug something.
No, like everything would just turn off.
Let's try reloading this.
Oh, my
Oh, sounds like pizza's here. Of course, the website would go down as we're trying to use it for the shell.
Oh, like this.
Yeah, but okay, you know,
It all goes down.
we work through it.
Like my life.
There's always other available opportunities. So look, this one's even better. It does a little syntax highlighting for you. Okay, so let's try executing it. Okay, perfect. So now what we had is 2 plus 2, right? 2 plus 2. No. We can execute it, and there you go, 4. Now we have our data types. All right. Okay. So, just so you can show you that float and doubles are essentially the same programmatically, we can have the integer a plus b and c. So when we execute it, we get 3.55, right? So if we were to instead use the float and add the float up, yes?
The output isn't showing because of the screen.
Of course. Okay.
You have to move the.
So let's move it to another corner. There you go. Okay. So there's certain different types of adding that we can do, but our pizza just showed up. So how about we
Wait, one more thing.
Okay, yeah.
So I noticed that you use CSS to display lines of like text, right?
Uh-huh.
But what if I want to? What if I want to add? What if I want to input a word or something? What if I want to ask whoever's using my program to input something?
Okay.
Is there something I can use for that?
Yes. So the reason we call it a C out and not a count is because we have another function or another statement that's called C in. So
C
it's
in.
not sin.
Not kin.
No, not kitten. It's C in.
It's a C.
What about like Coke?
There's a K in Coke.
But at the beginning, yeah, C sounds like K.
Depends, guys.
Where are you in education, sir?
No. Hear me out, man.
Okay, go.
I love that.
So is it lowercase?
Come on, Isaac.
Why would
Well, you got
Why
to
would-
do that.
if the,
You shake through.
according to input output logic, if I were to say C in, right, or has he started sin, right? So started sin, wouldn't Coke be soak?
Where'd you get the S?
Because he's making a C sound like an S. Sin.
Yeah, because it's next to an I. Like cinematography.
Who cares? Like, you're still making
Grammar cares.
Yes, but how would you? If it was really C in, they wouldn't be together. It would be C space or C underscore in.
But that's not how a compiler works.
Then blame the computer. Blame the compiler. Maybe the compiler's dumb. Okay.
Yeah, no, you know, maybe you could call it a count and a kin or a sin. It really doesn't matter as long as you're using the right
You can make your
statement.
programming language
I'm gonna.
however you want,
You
man.
know what? Maybe I will.
You
After
should.
I finish watching
Oh,
through this
you
podcast,
Out.
all episodes, maybe like a month, maybe like 3 months or so.
You can go off and create your own language using, I don't know, Super Mario. Which is a thing, by the way. There's a language that uses Super Mario to make programs. There's a coding programming language that uses Shakespeare.
There's also one for Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think.
I don't even know what that would look like.
You know what? Let's look it up. So like I said, if you're learning a new program, what do? You just look up the hello world, right? So Shakespeare, hello, or Shakespeare.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Oh, where art thou? Look, thou not true.
Here it is.
Only
Show
you
me
had
that,
a device where you could Google it.
You know what? With this,
So there's a Shakespeare programming language right here,
look.
right? And this is how the hello world looks like.
What the hell is that?
That's the hello world for a Shakespeare
So
program.
I type that into whatever accepts a Shakespeare programming language, and it'll output "Hello World."
Yes. So like it says right here, the simplest program in any language, which simply displays the phrase "Hello World" in Shakespeare. It's this. So Romeo, a young man with remarkable patience. Juliet, a likewise young woman of remarkable grace. Ophelia, a remarkable woman, much in dispute with Hamlet. Hamlet, the flatterer of Ophelia. And you know, you keep going. But this is the program.
When do you get this hello world?
Let's get.
Where is it?
Can I compile that right now?
Let's compile, yes. No, let's see if I can find it in here.
CS. Control F.
Yeah, I did the find. Hello world, here it is. So, what's funny is that this statement, this program right here, doesn't even use the words "hello world"
Yeah, this
to print out "hello world," but it still prints out "hello world."
I'm gonna drop out.
Oh, Isaac. To answer your question earlier, Sammy posted what the C and means. It means character in. Thanks, Sammy.
Is she? But are you asking a question? Or are you saying that? No, you're making a statement. You didn't answer the question. Okay. I get it. Grammar experience. And okay, thank you, Sammy. Sorry.
I need to find the Mario language.
You just wanted it to read as when you read code.
Mario Lang. There it is. I think that's the one.
Mario Lang.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how is that Super Mario? Okay,
It's like
that is
yeah,
true.
yeah. You see that? So like he goes down the stairs and ends up like right here.
And what would that do in this program?
Let's see. Let's go Mario Lang. There it is. That's your Hello World in Mario Land. At least this one says Hello World. Or that might just be like the title of it.
Can't anyone? How come no one's made a computer language that is basically the same as the way we speak?
That's called Python.
That's called Python, yeah. So
Really?
yeah, so well, okay, it's not exactly Python, but Python's pretty close to English. If you want to print something on screen, you literally just say print and then put what you want to say. If you want to name give like a character the word hello, you literally just put the name of the character and put equals hello.
You see, that's my program. That's
Yeah.
my kind of program.
Oh,
Right
that's
there.
hard.
But if you start in
Sorta.
Python,
They're gonna get used to the tapping.
yeah.
It has its own system of tapping.
The problem is if you start with Python, we try to pick up a different language. It's a lot harder than if you start off in like C++, which is a harder language. Try to switch over to Python. So you pick up a lot of bad habits if you start on Python than if you start in C++.
Okay.
But anyway, let's
So, CNs, did you teach that?
CN. Okay, so cout gets you an output like we had it right here.
And then I'll display something. Right?
Yeah, that'll just say hello. Right. So it says
I think CF for control. No.
Character.
out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That'll be
So if we want cin, what we need to do is write cin. So if we want to get something out from the user, usually we need to ask the user for something. So we start with a cout and then say something like,
what's your name?
yeah, what's your name? Let's put a colon just because. Alright, and then you do a cin. Notice how it's the other way. The arrows are the other way.
Oh, so one is throwing stuff out there, another one is getting something. Okay, that's why they kind of flipped around.
Yeah, so the way I like to think of it is the opposite. Cout has the arrows going in to it, and cin has the arrows going out. So that's how I like it. And then you're going to put the variable name where you want whatever they type to be stored. So we'll use A, which is the one that I did right here. Like that. And then we can do another cout and say like, hello, whatever your name was. Hello. And then the variable name, which is A. And then we end the line. Right? So I know I hadn't talked about it before, but multiple operators like this let you do multiple couts in one line. So you don't have to do cout this, cout this, cout this. It'll just do it all in one line. So that's what I did here. So now when we execute it, what's your name? Hello. So it didn't ask us for our name. Let's see. Should just be that. So std. Stop it at that. Are we typing that incorrectly? It is just CN and then the operator, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
C++?
it's working for me.
It's working for you?
Yeah, is it? Control F5.
Let's try it again. It could just be the environment that I'm using.
Use all CLs. Don't use multiple environments. Just CL.
Yeah, it's a CN. It's giving us issue. So let's just double check. So a good beginner tip is if you're just starting off and you know that there's a command or you know that there's something that you need to do, you can always just Google it and there's a lot of information out there. So right now, we're pretty sure we're doing this right, but you know, we could be typing it wrong. So let's just type in C++ user input. Basic user input, C++. And they'll have tons of examples here. So cout, that's what we have. What we're looking for is cn. Cn. Oh, okay, I see.
Alright, so here I got my parameter. Wait, did it?
That's why. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
So it's getLine. When you're gonna use a string, you're gonna do getLine. So if we're gonna get like a full name, you have to use a command called getLine instead of cn, right? Because of the spaces that you're using. Okay. So if you're just doing a character, it should work. So let's switch over here. So get line cn a. So
You can even go from all warrior. As long as you have two warriors.
but it's not typing. I think it's the environment.
That's so weird. I've been doing that for a while.
Hey, look, the other one works.
With the
Yeah, but it's fine. Windows just switch between the two user namespace std. Sure, let's make it sound like that. Hello. Missing terminating character. Where am I missing that? Right here. Oh. There we go. Perfect. What's your name?
Name's Isaac.
Isaac. Hello, Isaac.
Hey.
There you go. So the same works if you're using numbers. So let's say if we want to get your age, right? So we do first, you always need a variable of the data type that you're going to be storing. So if I want to ask for your name, for your age, then it's going to be a number. So I have to use a number data type. A number data type I can choose between double, integer, or float. But like we said, it's just integer or float or double. So I'm going to stick with int and I'm going to name it age. So now I can ask you for your age. So it's hello, Isaac. What is your age? We want that space. Okay, and then we can just do cn. And now this one doesn't need the whole get line because it's just going to be a number. So we put age, we put cl. Wow. I can't believe you are age years old. And then in line. Yeah. So now run that.
Yeah, my name's Isaac. 21.
Wow, I can't believe you're 21 years old,
I can't believe
man.
I'm 21 years old, to be honest. Hey,
Must
give
be-
me a
I
mic.
don't believe it.
So give this guy a beer.
So, just like we have strings, strings are a collection of characters. So you can have just a single character. So that's done with a char or car. Depends how you want to pronounce that C, Isaac. And let's for the card, let's get your gender. Okay. So
Kind of the gender like that, man.
I'm not assuming.
Yes.
That's why I'm asking him.
Okay, fine, but like put other. And if it's other, you gotta type your gender.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a valid program. So
I always put other and I type my gender. I'm gonna type helicopter. What's with that?
okay. You
It's something funny.
you had me, now you lost. Okay, so what is your gender? Now we do CN and Jen. So let's just test that real quick to make sure we don't need anything else. So it's Isaac.
21. I'm a horse.
What's your gender? 3.
I'm a horse.
Gender. So boy
Horse.
or girl. So horse
I'm a horse.
H. Okay, that worked fine.
It's a fight
You
with
should
an
use the
animal.
case.
That's
I
fine.
believe you.
So now see out. See out
21
this
years
way.
old, act like that.
Oh, so just in what? In 7 more months, I'm just gonna become just like this mature fucking
Well,
adult.
you feel it like in your spirit.
So at like 12 midnight, I'll just shit.
Yeah, you're gonna adult.
I gotta get to work.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so I'll just run that. What's your name? Isaac. What's your age? 21. What is your
I'm
gender?
a fucking horse.
You're a horse? Okay. So it's a character. We're only picking up one character, so I'll type in H. You are an H. There you go.
Said I'm a horse.
Yes. So if we want to change, you can always just change it to a string. So a good idea is to always keep your variables together. So if you want multiple strings, you can just put in here gender, right? And you'll have 2 variables that you can declare what they're going to be later on. So gender, and since it's a string, now we have to switch it to get line cn gender.
Yeah. One fresh now.
Wait, but
Okay.
I use CNs all the time to get strings.
That it could be your environment. So like in our environment, we just put regular cn, and it did not want to input the string into our string. So we just use getLine because that's how this environment liked it. Okay, so now we run. Let's try this again. Isaac, 21. They said you are okay. It just went straight through.
You are
Did I?
Why do you put C out? You are A/N.
Oh, because it's supposed to tell you what you are. Oh, you have to clear the get line. So let's erase this.
What? Guy putting so many stuff that's like not allowed.
What?
Yeah, like I have to allow this guy like access to like his comments, but it's so sad that YouTube like they will catch it and like say like, oh no, and then this guy's basically trying to just like, you know, like review it. I'm like, all right, I read it. It's like just cuss like, all right. So, and my weather said Zapata. That was just not man. I'm fucking parched. What he said.
You can't say that on camera.
I can't. It's
Wow.
the Christian server.
Christian.
No.
Is that a double?
No.
Is that a double entendre?
Oh my god. I just got that. Okay, so now we can put horse. You are a horse. There you go.
I don't know what sounds horses make.
What sound do horses make?
I do know what I can make it. I can't make it.
Okay, so now that we've handled input output and basic math, also integers, I think it's a good stopping point for now for us to get some pizza, please. Can we have some pizza?
What do you want?
Are we still gonna be completing? Wait, what is there?
Already the first one.
Yeah, we're here till 10, so. Do we have plates?
Do you have plates? Did you wash the dishes?
I did.
I did watch.
I did watch. I'm proud of you. Yeah, finally.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm proud of you.
I washed
Oh my God, they
dishes,
finished.
not my dishes.
What? Not even. Wait, you did?
Yes, you're fucking dishes.
I've always watched
What?
this. Why are you like this?
Why are you yelling at each other? You're right here.
Because you're accusing me of not washing dishes forever when the dishes that were there forever are yours.
What do you mean? I did use them yesterday.
Come
Yes,
on.
yes. Come back.
Yes, star. You don't forget to meet up.
Por favor.
And there's beef and pepperoni, and then there's pepperoni and mushroom, and there's
Pepperoni, please. Only pepperoni.
Wait, that's only
Nope,
boxes
only
left?
pepperoni.
Pizza?
No, there's 3 boxes of pizza.
Oh, I was like,
I'm bringing them one at a time, not a waiter.
oh, I'm just kind of like, ow.
Just any box will do, to be honest. You know what? Just, I don't know why.
Bring me that
So
one.
picky.
We won't be greedy.
Just start stacking them. We have plenty of tables.
Thanks, Kim.
Ooh, I want
Oh, I want that. Oh, this
No!
No! Wait, oh, that's good. I want this one. I was like, yeah.
What's that?
pepperoni.
Did we get pineapple pizza? But I like pineapple pizza.
Isaac, what did you say about pineapple pizza?
It's a disappointment. Pineapple pizza dropped out of college. That's what it sucks.
That's the veggie one.
We have a veggie pizza with mushrooms, spinach, and cheese.
Oh, I'll take that too. You want sauce?
So you won't take them first.
But I have beer.
Oh, I thought it was good.
Hiccup ugly.
Yeah. Oh,
I do not have an ugly hiccup. Okay.
yeah.
So
No.
we can let's do a quick overview. So Isaac, what has this been helpful?
Yeah,
What
Yep.
is there anything you have like any particular question with on?
We don't promote that, sir, please.
Oh, I'm talking about please.
yeah. Okay, yeah, so this actually was pretty beneficial. As far as getline, if CNs don't ever work, you can try getline the way it did with you,
Right.
and it basically does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But can it? And it just gets strings, right? Getline is used to get strings and
Yeah.
display them.
Yeah, it'll get the entire line of user types. That's what it'll get. So if I were to type, I am a horse, but I also identify as an attack helicopter, it would get that entire line and put it inside your string variable. But you have to remember that sometimes the get line function, you have to clear it. So you have to clear the CN, which is what it's called. So your program doesn't just automatically run through it. It's 8 something, by the way. No, it's 9 something. We're in Central Time.
Anything with that specific.
I don't think we're allowed to cuss.
Anyway,
Are we?
It's not TV.
it's not.
I brought it up.
It's not a no. That then
It's not a university thing.
then you know what like the response to that was? It's a Christian server.
I don't need this in my life.
Mm. Yeah, so it's like you're saying. So I was just showing an example of a CN that worked just like that, CN into the string, and it worked out just fine. On our environment, it wasn't letting us, but it should
Yeah.
work. So that should be your first line of attack. So if you're out there and you're struggling, I guess this would be a good time to talk about our Patreon page while we're eating. We did set up a small Patreon page where we're getting this set up, and we hope we keep it running for the long term, helping you guys out. You know, we know that there's a lot of students who struggle out with their computer science projects, and we want to help them out. But we want to make it bigger. We want to make it better. We want to, get a better setup going on, so you guys can hear us, so you guys can see everything, so our environments don't always crash. Things like that. So one thing that you can guys do is back us on our Patreon page, and what that does is if you become a sponsor on our Patreon page, there's a couple different levels on there, but you'll be able to join our Slack, so you can get if you guys have any questions, we can go ahead and give you guys straight answers if we know it on the spot. Let me go ahead and post it on there. But if you guys ever stuck on a homework problem and you'd like for us to go in depth for it, that's also another reward that our sponsors get. If you sponsor us on Patreon, we'll go ahead and assist you guys. You guys will get priority status with any questions that you might have. So if you have a homework assignment that you're having that you just think it's too hard and you want to fully understand it, we'll go over it in here before we start with our podcast. We'll hit that first and then we'll keep it going. However, if you're not a sponsor, you can always ask us questions on the chat live, and we'll also help you guys out. But the sponsors do get priority status. Let's not dump all the liquids on the computer.
No, dumping the liquids on the computer. I'm so sorry.
He just wants that close up.
Wait, you know what? Oh, I was like, wait.
Yes. So what's the clisp? I don't know what the clisp is. Do you guys know what the clisp is?
The what?
CLISP, the Common Lisp implementation.
Why is mom I want to tell you.
This orange zone.
Okay,
You know,
fermented
if we don't know,
ammonia,
we'll
what's
find
he
out,
putting in it?
and we'll go ahead and
What?
we'll learn it with
Get
you.
a
I mean,
bigger slice.
nobody here, I'm pretty sure no one knows everything, but I don't know.
What's up, baby?
We'll sit down, we'll study it with you. Whatever. If we don't know it, that's even better. That means we get to learn together. So whenever two people studying is always better than one. C Lisp. There you go. But yes, the more you guys help us out in the Patreons, or if you guys would like to do donations, we'd appreciate it, and it helps things going to keep us going. Eventually, these podcasts are going to be open to the public, so you guys are going to be able to come on and ask us questions live. But for now, we're starting off small here in the apartment, but then we'll move on up from there. I know I have a couple of you guys over here. So just tell your friends to tell anybody who you know that is struggling, and maybe they don't want to leave their room, but they do have a couple of questions. We're always going to be here every Wednesday from 8 to 10. So definitely keep that in your mind. Amanda, did your Visual Studio ever get set up?
No, it's not, sir.
Oh, faithful. Isaac, right now, what sort of assignments have you gotten in your class?
So right now, as far as we've gotten, our most recent assignment was make a program, a command prompt program that asks you for your name. It says, "Hey, what's your name?" And you put in your name, and then it asks you to input a temperature in degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And then it'll tell you, "Hey, Isaac, 56 degrees Fahrenheit is 13.33 degrees Celsius." So it basically converts the temperature to Celsius, the temperature in Fahrenheit to Celsius, and gives it to you in a really nice statement.
Okay.
So basically, what you taught me today, basically made me an expert in CINs and COUTs and strings, and like numbers, like data types for numbers.
Yeah.
Which is basically what that assignment required.
Yeah. So in that program, what you're going to be doing is a lot of just grabbing the formula from Fahrenheit to Celsius, finding out which way you're going to want to go. So that's for if you're probably going to be using an if statement or a loop. So if they gave you a Celsius and you want a Fahrenheit, or if they give you a Fahrenheit and they give you a Celsius, you're just going to decide which one you're going to go with, and then just do the math equation and spit it out, which is what we just used, using the same CINs and COUts, or COUts, as long as you remember that it's the COUts.
So they use statements that you go like from one direction or another.
What do you mean?
What are if statements for?
Okay.
You go to one direction or another, or how do you use it?
All right, so let's actually we have around 15 minutes left of the podcast, so we can go ahead and do a quick little overview on if statements. So why don't we just go ahead and actually do that program, the Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. Let me show you guys our scene. Okay, so we had our name that we're gonna have. We have our character, which is gonna be the temperature.
Ooh, so this man is variables and
So, I have a question.
Yeah?
Would that be signed or unsigned?
I'm gonna leave my books.
Like if you have a negative.
So, like, if you ever feel like
Yeah, it should be signed. So luckily, integers do let you do signed, so you can just use the same int type to be negative or positive. So let me think. What else do we need? We need a name,
2 hours
type,
to the whole
and a temperature.
Yeah, I'm watching this for a while.
Okay. Now let's start first by asking the user for their name. So we use our cout statement.
I really want to finish up Mr. Red episode. I really expect it.
What are you still watching it?
Yeah. But you're doing something you're really great for love. You're good. I just got you.
You're right, I got you. I'll take over for you.
So now, awesome. So we got the first part. So you're also going to want to go ahead and comment your code. That's very important, so you don't get lost in your own madness. What you do is just set up a comment. You just put two double slashes moving forward, and it'll ignore anything you type afterwards. So it won't cause compile error. So right here, what I did is I declared our variables, and now over here I'm asking user for name or first name. Now that we have their first name, we're gonna ask what conversion do you need, or let's just ask what's the starting temperature. So we'll see out what is the starting temperature. Nope, we don't need it. And then CN, let's go for our temperature. Now we're gonna ask what type of temperature is this. So what's that? What unit of temperature is this?
What you want to convert it to?
No, first we're gonna ask. So we asked them what's the temperature, right? So they say like 30 degrees, right? Now we have to ask them, is this in Celsius or in Fahrenheit? So that's what we're gonna ask. So ask for temperature unit. So see out. How do you spell Fahrenheit?
FAHRENHEI.
Okay.
Oh, I missed.
Okay. And now, since we have a character type, we want to make sure that they only answer with a single letter, and that's going to be C or F. Okay. So now we have the name of the user, we have the temperature that they're starting off with, and now we have the temperature of the type. So this is where the if statement comes in. So if whatever type they gave us, right, we have to figure out if it's Celsius or if it's Fahrenheit. So what we do is we use the comparison operators. So most likely we use equals. So it's two equals. A single equals means you're assigning a value. A second equal sign next to it means you're comparing a value. So when you do type equals and then you do F, it's going to check to see if whatever they typed in for type is an F. If it's not, then it's not going to execute what's in here. So code for F. So if it's not an F, then we want to check if it's a C. So else if there you go. Code for C. So now if it's neither of those, so if it's anything else, then we're just going to put else, and then it's going to do this. So it'll default to this. So the way this would work is, the way the if statements work is, if this condition is true, it'll jump and run this code, and then proceed to the line after all these else. So this is your entire if statement. Once it executes the code for either this, or this, it'll jump to here. So if it runs F, it's not going to run C or else. It's going to just run F and then go here. If it runs C, it's not going to run F or else. It's just going to jump straight over here. And if it runs else, it's just going to run else and then jump out. So else only goes into it if these two criteria aren't met. So if these two criteria aren't met, then it'll automatically do the else. This else is not necessary, so you don't have to put the else there, and it'll still just, if this works, it'll do this. If this doesn't work, it'll do this. If not, it'll just keep going with your program. So now let's see what we have so far. So let's not do anything, but leave that there because we need it. And let's see out our variables. Or name, temp, type, and line. So Sergio, 48 degrees, and it's Fahrenheit. There you go. So we have all the values in our variables. What we want to do now is just do something with them. So let's look up the Fahrenheit. Oh God.
How to convert?
Yeah.
Oh, you subtract 32 from Fahrenheit, and then you multiply by 5 over 9.
Okay. So, of course, 10. Okay, so subtract 32.
Yeah, so Fahrenheit minus 32.
Okay.
And then multiply the result of that times 5 over 9.
Alright. Alright, so we need a place to store that value. So let's make a new value named temperature 2. Okay. Let's check it out just to make sure that it's working.
Yo, Studio 69 is R.
Oh, okay, so because we're using this fraction here.
Oh, yeah, you need to probably put.
Yeah, so
0.
we need to make sure that these are doubles.
Oh.
So it'll keep that the decimal.
Wouldn't 32 be 0.0 as well?
No, because 32 is it's being used as an integer with an integer.
Okay.
Right? And then over here it's going to be double with double, right? So that works just fine. But then if you try to do the way we're having it right now, an integer, and then we're trying to multiply with a double, it wouldn't have worked correctly because they're mismatched data types. So what we need to do is make sure that at least one of them is a double, and then it'll go through just fine. Which is what should have happened here. So temp 2 is a double. So now this decimal is going to get saved into this decimal type. So let's try run it again. Error expression cannot be used in function. Which one is it? Right here. Okay. So let's do the 5 over 9. Multiply.
I think you still need the.
There it is.
What?
Okay, so Sergio.
I'm pretty sure it's making it a 0 now.
It's 30. And then
That's Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. Yes. We wanted to go into the if statement. So we type in F. It gives you 0.
It gives you 0 because you still need to put the.
Yeah, the point 0. Let's try it again. There we go. Stop that for some reason. No, the.
What are you working on?
Yeah, we're switching it to Fahrenheit. So let's switch that back and see if that does anything. Nope, it is.
Just crash.
Yeah. So luckily, like I said before, it's just code. So you can just put it in a notepad and pass it around from interface to interface. And just grab all this and paste it again. Let's do the same thing. Let's try different. There we go. First name, Sergio. Certain temperature, 30 degrees, Fahrenheit. 0. Okay, perfect. And that's because it's still an integer.
That's blind?
No, it's just some random online.
Oh, yeah, that's the one my professor told me to use.
See?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
30
Online 30
Fahrenheit. There you go.
Yeah.
So it's below
It's
one below
negative
0.
because you're subtracting 30 from 32, so you already get a negative.
Okay, perfect.
You're subtracting 32 from 30. So yeah.
Yep. So that means it keeps its value. So now, so how would we do? What's the formula for Celsius?
It'll just be the inverse of that.
The inverse of that. So
Okay. All right. So you get a temperature in Celsius, right?
yeah,
So that means you add 32.
and then multiply by 5/9. I mean divide by 5/9.
Yes.
Okay. So like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try something we all know.
Wait. So put in temperature in Celsius. Put it 13.33. You put a C.
Oh,
You
I
didn't
put a
you
C.
didn't
Yeah.
put a
So
number.
then it gave me that problem. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Sergio. Start temperature. What'd you say?
13.33. What the fuck? 5.0. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because it's an integer. So if we want to put a decimal, when you switch this over to a double. There you go. So Sergio, now it should be
13.33.
There you go. You said Celsius, right?
That yeah. No wait, no. That's a temperature. Yeah, Celsius. That's a temperature in Celsius.
81.594. That's correct. Is it? Okay, cool. So if they don't put Celsius or Fahrenheit, then we're gonna see out. Please. Or just you did not type a valid unit. And line. There you go. Yes. So now we just type in name. Because your name. So we want to say Isaac. The temperature is, and then the number.
Wait a minute. Oh, sorry. I got it somewhat wrong. So you basically have to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You have to multiply by 9/5.
Okay.
So
So
I should have known it was the inverse, so that gets flipped around. So multiply by 9/5
okay,
and add 32.
for Celsius.
Yeah.
So
Add 32, but multiply by 9/5.
okay. That
Multiply.
oh. So the multiplication is the same.
Yeah.
It's just this is the inverse. The inverse of this and the inverse of this. Okay, so Isaac. 100 degrees
No, okay.
Celsius is 237 Fahrenheit. Is that correct?
There's 100 degrees.
Google it.
Just can you put it in 13.33?
He's so
That's
pissed.
the one I use
That's the one you know. Okay.
by heart
Is there a specific reason why you know that one by heart?
because I did the same program and the random number I chose in Fahrenheit was 56. This is bullshit.
I missed the point 33. I'm sorry. And you said it was Celsius, right? Ah, I got it wrong again. Okay, come on. Let's just keep burning for Isaac.
13.33.
13.33
That's Celsius.
Celsius.
This is bullshit.
Are our formulas wrong?
God damn it, Isaac.
You know what, man? Good call.
Hey, the Christian server. We don't talk about
This is an
what?
Isaac server.
cannot spell. Okay.
We know
There it is. Look, temperature in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, look, it is yeah.
Temperature in Celsius times 9 and then add 32 times
Maybe you
1.8.
flipped it around. Like maybe the order was wrong.
There. Okay. So Fahrenheit. We have our temperature in Fahrenheit, and we want
So can you?
Celsius, right?
Yeah.
So why is there no temperature in Celsius? This is all from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 9/5.
So temp times 9/5. The temperature in Fahrenheit. The temperature in Celsius times 9/5. So just put temp times 9/5.
Okay.
But can you put that in parentheses?
So like
There, and then all the way at temp, yeah. So it does that first, and then plus 32.
okay.
Try it now. Isaac. Celsius. Yes!
There
we
you
got
go. We got it.
it. Great. So it was a logical error.
Yeah, it's a logic error. So there's
this. Oh, so you what it was too.
so there's different types of errors that you're gonna get. It's you got syntax error, which is the first one that you said, like the semicolon. That's a syntax error. That means you typed in something wrong. There's gonna be a compile error, which means it looks everything could be typed in correctly, but when it comes time to actually compile it, maybe like we were putting in a decimal into we're putting a what's it called a double into an integer. That's a compile error. That's not gonna work, but your syntax is correct. And then we have a logic error, which is when you have a function or a formula like this that your output is unexpected, but everything else is working correctly. So just like that, we've gone over pretty much basic input, output, character data types, and formulas, and some if-else statements. Isaac, since you are just starting out, is there any other questions you might have?
No, actually, you answered all my questions for today, to be honest.
All right. So, Amanda, we'll get your Visual Studio up and running. But I hope this was very helpful for you guys if you're starting out or have very little experience on it. I know we kind of skipped over a couple of basic things, but like I said, this isn't supposed to be a sort of a lecture. It's more like trying to get you guys to just understand how it really is programmed in real life. How people who are just wanting to make a program are going to do it. This is basically how you're going to solve a program when you're at home alone. So you can see there was a lot of glitches. There was hiccups that we just had to push through, and eventually we did, and we got the program that we wanted. So again, if you guys have issues with your homework and you'd like us to help you out, please go ahead and stop by our Patreon page and help us out there. We'll be here next week, same time, 8 to 10, and we hope to see you guys again. Any closing remarks?
Next time on
CSS.
Thanks for watching.
Will Isaac learn more about science?
Don't forget to order a pizza.
I've been seeing someone talking about things today. I can't.
Don't forget to order a pizza before you watch the stream, so you can have some pizza as well. So yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. So check out our Patreon and help us out. The link will be in the comments. We'll post it one last time. But other than that, have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks to Kim
Thank
for
you,
ordering the
Kim.
pizza and also handing us the
Lifesaver.
pizza.
Yes, but thank you very much for our helper who's off camera. And thank you to our cameraman.
And Sergio as well.
All right, guys. Till next time.
See ya.
Bye.
See you out.